Hey y'all, I am Albany Essence and I am here with Ryan Coleman, the CEO of Omni Fitness, the place where you can go to bring out your inner athletes. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming. I wanted to pop this off by talking about the six pillars that Omni Fitness is built on.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about what those pillars are and why it was important that you crafted your business around those pillars?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, social, and then environmental. And when I was originally doing what I was doing in the fitness industry, I was just realizing that the more I got in tune with my physical fitness, like it started having an impact on the greater overall well-being. So, when I wanted to create a system to help other people, I wanted it to be I wanted to create a systematic approach that would allow me to, focus on physical fitness, but also being able to embody all those other pillars. And I would definitely say that outside of physical, I know a lot of people talk about like mental, spiritual, and stuff like that, but I would say two of our most important ones outside of physical would be social and environmental, which I kind of merge those into community in general. But just for the sole fact of like you've been in Omni Fitness, like even the training environment, it's very much like social community. Like we might be having debates in there while people are working out and stuff like that. Everybody sees a familiar face, so it's a very welcoming energy, and that kind of flows into environmental as well. And when I think of environmental wellness, I don't think of like the actual like environment, trees, plants, taking care of like stuff like that. I think more of like the ambiance, the atmosphere. When you walk into a space, you can feel the energy. You can feel if it's inviting, you can feel if people are kind of judging and something's off. And I think that that's something that's so important, especially to me, because I'm somebody who used to, always have this feeling, always have this energy when I walked into a space, and I would know what I was feeling, but people would disregard me and how I felt. And that kind of like took away from my natural innate intuition, so I felt like that was something that was super important. But then circling back even to mental, with Omni Fitness, climbing the Omni ladder of well being, as we call it. It starts with the physical, it goes into the mental. Because when you get your physical right, you naturally get more mental clarity, right? And then that mental clarity is essentially what helps you to step more into your spirit, which is a whole another journey of itself. Being able to connect with God, being able to figure out what that looks like it's a whole process. But if you don't have mental clarity, kind of makes that tough.
Yeah.
So it's like starting with getting people to remove those toxins, structural interference, stuff like that with their physical, get their temple right, so then they can be fully connected. um and then emotional, just for the last one. I think it's just we don't. I think we downplay the importance that fitness has on us as emotional beings, and we're all emotional by nature. And I literally get to see on a regular basis how I have the power to shift somebody's whole mood and mindset through a good workout. And people coming to work out in the morning and starting their day like that, that really sets the tone that allows them to carry it forward. So, yeah, every single one of those aspects is embodied by us in very unique ways, and if we're not able to provide it, we have an extensive network of individuals and other businesses that can provide it, such as Ray with Balance Period. We do a lot of collaborations with Rhythm and Flow, so Paradise. Um, everybody. Honestly, there's so much alignment there.
Yeah. All right. So I love that you spend time connecting with community and publishing or promoting other people's businesses. I think that that really speaks towards the value of community, but then also again to that environment piece. I want to take a step back a little bit outside of this conversation, outside of the show. You mentioned that you have a history in military. And so I have a two-part question. The first part is that can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what was that really like for you?
Yeah, so me joining the military, I kind of like I was coming from a point where I was a high school athlete, was always popular, ended up going to a smaller college to play football, and it was just like it just wasn't the same. Lost my love for it. Came home, started going to Ivy Tech. Got to a point where I'm just working. I didn't feel like I had a purpose, a
Mm,
passion. Like I didn't know what I was gonna do.
mm,
Like, and a lot of influence that I was getting from my parents was just join the military, and I
mm,
fought it for a while, and then I was like, my friend one day just approached me, and he saw a National Guard sign, and I was like, okay, I'm cool. We could be weekend warriors. It didn't
mm,
sound too bad at the
mhm,
time,
mhm,
right? But getting into it,
mhm,
there was a lot of things like recruiters for the military are very much like salespeople. Like
mhm,
they will sell you a dream. And even with my job in the military, like when I was going in, I scored pretty high on my ASVAB, which is like the SAT
okay,
essentially for the military.
okay.
So I could pretty much choose any job I wanted. Um, and I wanted to be a military police at
Mm,
first,
mm,
but they were like, "Oh yeah, we think you'll be a good fit for intelligence, military intelligence."
mm,
They were like, "Yeah, you'll pretty much be the James Bond of the military." I
mm,
was like, "Oh yeah, that
mm.
sounds good." I was studying criminal justice at the time.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, I very much was not the James Bond of the military. Military,
Mhm,
which I'll come back to that. But even like going into basic training, like I think that was like I was looking up videos. I was because anticipation always kills. I hate just like
mhm,
anticipation, like of not knowing what's to
mhm,
come and kind of
mhm,
surrendering to that.
mhm,
But I don't think nothing really could prepare me for basic training. I mean, I learned so much about myself. I had no choice but to get closer to God during that time.
mhm,
It was a constant cycle of going through things that once limited you and you felt like you
mhm,
couldn't do and overcoming them and
mhm,
like really stepping into your power and realizing like wow, like I can really be out here in the field living for 2 weeks,
mhm.
sustaining myself off of MREs, foods that are just in packages and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm,
um or freaking tossing grenades and doing all types of crazy stuff. The physical portion was like very much excessive. Like when you first get the basic training, they call it like shark attack,
mm,
and pretty much their job during that 24 hours is to break you down, make you
mm,
want to cry, make you want to go. Like I'm talking, I've never seen so many grown men and women cry
mm,
in my life, but
mm,
it was part of they were getting all that BS out of us,
mhm,
because it was we were had to about to go into a system where we were gonna have to develop structure, routine, and be very firm on that. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, some nights not going to bed until 11, 12, only
mm,
getting 4 hours of sleep. Some nights not even getting no sleep at all and being completely sleep deprived. So I got to learn a lot about who I really was
mm,
and what I could really do.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
and it sucked.
mhm,
And one of the
mm,
one of the famous lines they say is embrace the suck. You have to
mhm,
learn to embrace the suck. And that's kind of like a life principle that I've just been able to carry on in general.
mm,
Um, but also just in Intel school, I was pretty much like a human computer. Um, and as an analyst, like we literally our job is essentially to we have to give the infantrymen like courses of actions. They're actually going to be out there in the field, and if we giving them the wrong intel information based off what we got, we can get people killed.
yeah.
So it's very stressful.
Mm,
We had to brief like higher like majors, generals, like as like very lower enlisted, which was intimidating, but that helped me become a better speaker.
mm,
And I was actually like one of the best like presenters at the time in my class with all that. So that had a huge impact on how I communicate, but also how I'm very much logical, very much like analytical by nature now because of that. Because I did it for so long
Yeah.
that now, even in business, personal, it's just like, man, the way that my brain works,
Yeah.
it was highly impacted due to that.
Okay, so that you gave me a lot, and there were lots of little things that I really wanted to pull out of that. Um, okay, let's start with where, how long were you in this environment?
Yes. So, so basic training lasts for like 2 months. I want to say about 2 months, and then you get to graduate and think like I when I started it was a like when I finished basic training it was around like the time like for Christmas and stuff like that. So I was out in Oklahoma for
Okay.
2 months,
Okay.
Fort Sill, and then I went out to Arizona for advanced individual training, which was pretty much like military college for your subject matter expertise.
Wow.
But we got a break, a Christmas break, little 2 week break between. But then I was out there in Arizona for like 6 months after that.
Okay, so like just ballpark it at like a year. So for a year, you were training to be an intelligence operative for the government.
Yeah, like I'm talking about top secret
Yeah,
security clearance.
yeah.
Like they were very much pressing me in a room for 3 hours. They questioned my integrity because of like trouble that I was getting in high school, like just little things like being tardy and stuff like that. Like I had to write a whole like 3 page letter of justification just to get my security clearance pushed through so I could actually graduate. It's crazy.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
How does that, this is going to flow into like the second part of the question, but how has that shaped Omni Fitness? Like, where does that come into how you show up for your business, how you show up for your clients, for your community?
Yeah, I think it's for one structure first and foremost. Like I have to operate on structure. Like and
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for me to develop structure standard operation procedures cuz like that was a big thing in the military. Like we had to give you this book of standard operation procedures and you got to follow these things to the T. So in regards to the like developing like systems and structure and all of that to be able to influence and uh subconsciously impact individuals. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's one of the most important things that I learned from the military is how they certain things that they were do were programming us, but it was programming us and we didn't even realize we were getting programmed,
Mm.
you know. So when
Mm.
I'm dealing with people on a normal basis that are trying to break out of these like certain bad habits and stuff like that, I'm able to do it in an approach that doesn't even really feel it does like they really don't even know,
Mm.
because it's very fluent, it's very easy. So definitely that, but also I think because with business, like you go through a lot, right?
Mhm.
There's ups and downs. You're gonna be told no more than you're told yes.
Mhm.
But having that resilience and having that knowing that it's like, if I made it through this,
Mhm.
I can make it through anything.
Mhm.
So I think just in regards to I'm not sure that I would be in the position that I am in today to even be a leader within the space of Omni if it wasn't for the military. Because there was a lot of like leadership and just basic like one of the most important values I took away was integrity.
Mhm.
So I'm very much a firm believer that I have to be a walking example of what it is that I preach to the people.
Mhm.
So anything that I'm putting on to my community or my clients or anything like that, I'm a walking example of that. And I think people naturally gravitate to that and they respect it
Mhm.
because they know that I'm a person of my word. And that can be, good and bad sometimes too, because you got perfectionism that comes in there, which I'm trying to be a progressionist. I heard that from
Mm.
somebody.
Mhm.
Her name is Lena.
Mm. Mhm.
Shout out Lena. But yeah, She said be a progressionist instead of perfectionist. So that's something that I'm working on as well. But in the military, you're literally like
Mm-hmm.
slammed to be perfection,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So pros and cons.
What are some of the things that you are actively trying to let go of from the military that aren't serving you in this season? They're not serving Omni. They might have been helpful at a time outside of perfectionism.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say something that I'm really still working on is like that ability to surrender,
Mm.
and I think it's an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, like anticipation, like always, like I always kind of want to I want to know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes it's hard for me to surrender to the process or like what's going on fully. Um, so like with me having that mindset that I always gotta, know what's going on. Like I always have to be a couple steps ahead. Like it can lead to self-inflicted suffering
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and it's not intentional, but it's like when you are constantly going against the grain and you're not stepping into that place where you're actually able to like surrender to
Mm-hmm.
the process becomes so much more difficult,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say definitely outside of the perfectionism, like that ability to kind of surrender to the process at times,
Yeah.
like because it's like I feel like I should be here, but it's like it's not the pace but that's not for me to control. That's all in God's hands.
Mm-hmm.
So
Amen.
yeah.
So that leads me to a separate question, which is you've been alluding to it this entire time, which is that like being an entrepreneur comes with various challenges. What's the challenge that you say you're facing right now, and how are you working through that?
So I would say like as entrepreneurs, as creatives,
Mm-hmm.
visionaries, whatever the case may be, we always have like this ultimate long-term vision of how we see what we really want, right? And I think for me right now, like it's kind of hard because I walk into Omni Fitness every single day and I know that I want more,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I also I'm like it's not necessarily time. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
has been going smooth. I'm strategic with everything. I got the plans. I got everything in place. Um, but it's patience. And that's one of the I got a Nipsey. I want actually on this arm. Dedication, hard work,
Mm-hmm.
plus patience,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I definitely feel like I'm in that stage where plus patience.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
like I know that Omni Fitness is this destination location that one day like people are gonna rave to come from like all
Yes.
around the country. Like
Yes.
I don't even want multiple locations. I just want that one centralized location that
Mm-hmm.
people would come to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's hard sometimes because it's just like I walk in and it's not what I see, and I have to remember to be grateful for what I have because there was a time where I didn't even have that. I was having to sneak into LA Fitness and trade people in there, or sublease from other people and stuff like that. But to say that I actually have my own facility, like
Mm.
that's a blessing.
Yeah, it is.
And sometimes I don't see that the way that other people see it, just because I'm that hunger for always wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that in this current season, it's kind of it's a conflict between that hunger of wanting more and that need to be patient, but staying dedicated
Mm-hmm.
to the craft and becoming better at what I'm doing while I'm being patient.
I don't know if you've ever seen Hamilton, but you're very much given never be satisfied.
Oh,
Yeah, right now. That's okay though.
and that's a Hamilton's a play,
It
right?
is. Yeah, it's a
Somebody that's
musical.
crazy. Somebody just mentioned that yesterday. We were talking about plays at the gym, musicals, and somebody mentioned Hamilton. That's I might need to go watch
You
that.
should watch it.
Yeah.
It's 10 out of 10. Def recommend.
Okay.
It's my favorite actually. I just gotta take a moment and let you know that from cover to cover, Lin Manuel did his thing. There's lots of little itsy bitsy like almost Easter eggs that just come full circle at the end, and there's not a lot of it's really good writing. There's not a lot of good writers out there. So
Hmm.
shout out to Lynn. Okay, let's dive back into your story. I'm really captivated with the military piece because as you were telling the story, you there was like a mix of emotions. Um, there was kind of like stoic, but then there was also like you were recalling things that made you want to like grimace. Then there
Mhm.
are also things that like they were like, well, almost a sense of pride as well was kind of shining through. Um, and I just I don't know why I feel called to just lean in a little bit more, but like what about that experience? I think I'm gonna just dive in. Like, what about that experience has maybe harmed you, and then how have you pulled yourself out of that? And does Omni play a role in pulling you out of
Mm, great question. Great question. Um, First, I would definitely say so. The programming
that?
that you have to experience is definitely good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there was this point where they had me like I came in as a kid and essentially had to go through this rites to passage, which I feel like men don't necessarily get to experience nowadays, like we used to, like back in the day, even like going as far back to hunter and gatherer days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but within that, like I very much became this like Captain America, like pro America, like USA, USA,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't with my roots. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Um, and I had to spend a lot of time like kind of learning how to work the system rather than letting the system work me.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, that system was working me, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, I was everything America. Like it was, it was just so crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
just because that just wasn't. I'm a rebel. I'm a rebel by nature. But then
Mm-hmm.
I learned to conform to like a
Mm-hmm.
system. Um, and then like it was like I really had to get myself back into that space, like back into that like that black liberation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
taking back my power, taking back ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this mindset in the military that's like very much like limited. Like I would tell people that I wanted to be like an entrepreneur. I wanted to start my own gym. Like I was saying I wanted to start my own gym back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Like this has always been a thing, but people would be like, "Man, you got a full time gig with the military. They give you housing allowance. They take care of your insurance. Like, why would you go out and do anything else? You know?"
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them were confusing their purpose with their job,
Talk
right?
about it. Mm-hmm.
And to me, you know, you don't want to necessarily tie your purpose to your job because that's something that can be gone. It's something that
Mm-hmm.
could be taken away from,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But when you truly are in full alignment with your purpose
Mm-hmm.
and your vision and you know exactly what you want to do, no matter if you lose a position, you're still gonna have that purpose.
Yeah.
So like I experienced that full pledge in 2020 when I had that position pulled away from me. You know, God snatched it
Mm-hmm.
right top of January, snatched it right from underneath me.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God that time I was working on getting Omni situated. The name Omni Fitness came into play back in like 2018. A friend of mine who passed away, rest in peace, he helped me come up with the name. And ultimately, I don't think if it wasn't for all of that that I experienced, like that's why I was like I don't necessarily know if there would have been an Omni, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it was like Omni was kind of like the trickle effect of like having to go through this process of being programmed. Well, I mean, I think that happens like much and like institutionalized
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah,
even in
yeah.
just going
America's
through
good
the
at that.
education system, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah,
So
1000%. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so but that process of being programmed and deprogramming and programming, deprogramming,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what birthed Omni in a sense. But also, you know, me being in a position where I was working the system and not letting the system work me.
Right.
So when the time came where I got that position taken away, I
Mm-hmm.
was ready
Mm-hmm.
to kind of step into my power, take that
Yeah.
leap of faith,
We praise
and
God for
go
that.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Okay. Well, thank you for traveling down that journey with me.
Yeah.
Let's pivot just a little bit to the socials. Content going crazy,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy, crazy. It's
Thank you.
great. If y'all haven't already, check it out. I'm just saying, I'm in love with it. I love it. Very inspiring. Um, Tell me, like, what has this process been like getting your content to the next level, and what value would you say that it's brought?
Man, first and foremost, shout out intentionally social,
Woohoo!
uh,
Yes.
because again, I'm very much somebody, and I think that's why me and Murdoch work so well together. Because Van essentially does the same thing that Murdoch does for me, except she does it on like the marketing side.
Mm,
And I'm the type of person, I just need a plan, and if somebody
mm,
gives me a plan, I can execute flawlessly.
mm,
So we had to go through a lot of trial and error with this social media stuff,
mm,
like playing around. Like there was a point in 2021 where I was getting tens of thousand views on just like these normal like workout videos, like they
mm,
were going crazy,
mm,
and then all of a sudden like the algorithm, like I started getting maybe like a couple hundred,
mm,
sometimes not even that.
mm,
And I was like, man, like what am I doing wrong?
mm,
And specifically with the Omni Fitness page, I was trying to focus so much on educating
mhm,
that that's all it was. It was just like I was
mm,
pushing education, and then we decided to switch that up and like let's make this more community focused. Let's
mhm,
make it more community based, but also add in my personality in there to it.
mhm,
So
mhm,
um, with adding in the personality while still keeping the roots. Like, 'cause I like to educate. I'm an
mhm,
educator by nature.
mhm,
But I also like I'm a funny person. Like I
mhm,
love to laugh. I love to make other people laugh. Um,
mhm,
so mixing that in while also like kind of staying true to like the transformationals and stuff like that.
mm,
We have this algorithm essentially, and like we have one video right now that's currently going viral. It has like 4.1 million views.
woo-hoo,
But it's funny, but
mhm,
it's relating directly to us, like
mhm,
fitness, Omni
mhm,
Fitness. At
mhm.
the end of the day, it relates to Omni Fitness. It's not just like some random video that just went viral.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
with a video like that, we're able to reel people in,
mhm,
and then once we're able to reel people in, then we had an offer, and the offer that we had, even for those individuals that might not be local, is we have online workout guides. So
mm,
through mini chat, every time somebody comments on a certain like keyword or something like that onto the post, it sends them an automated message with about the workout guides. It's like,
nice.
if you want to support, here
Yeah.
you go. So I think like having and then that comes down to having a plan as well, because it's like if you people go viral every day, but they don't necessarily have a way to like execute on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And if you don't got over like 10K followers on Instagram, like they're not gonna pay you. So it's like I'm not getting
Mm,
paid by Instagram, but I am
mm,
creating an opportunity for exposure through those workout guides.
mhm,
But community is a big thing, and that's one thing that I love to hear people say when they might find us on TikTok, like which, and we've had several people from out of town like who come to live in Indiana that have found us
mm,
on TikTok, and they were like the main thing that stands out is like just that community. Like they
mhm,
felt like it was accepting. They would see all different shapes and sizes, all
mhm,
different colors in there, and
mhm,
it just looked like a place where somebody would want to find their gym home.
mm.
So um, I think that was important, and then also just kind of really projecting out our customer personas on
Yeah.
the social media
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I like that content
yep.
a lot. Again, y'all gotta go check out. But just seeing like, look, here's who's at Omni, and you get to see the people. I got to see the people that I got to work alongside while I was there, and I just think I just think it's really cool because then it makes when I was going to this church, one thing that our first lady said was, a big church feels small when you get involved,
Mm,
and that's literally what this feels like when you're doing in your content. It's like Omni Fitness is this huge um, establishment serving lots of people, but it makes it so much smaller. It makes it so much more of an intimate community when you like post about the community.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when people can. look at that person or like that persona and they're like, I relate directly
Yes.
to that. I can
Yes.
see that person in
In myself.
myself. Yeah.
Yes, I would 1,000% agree. I want to dive a little bit back into the politics again. Right now, we're entering a very um, interesting political climate. How are you, or how is that shaping Omni, or not even shaping, but how is Omni helping or assisting its community during this time, um, wherever it's needed?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is like Omni has this radiates this frequency of love,
Hmm.
and very much like self development, self empowerment. Like everybody there is like just kind of within this sphere where it's like, ultimately there's a lot going on within the world.
Hmm.
There's a lot going on that honestly we might not necessarily be able to control at this point.
Hmm.
But what we can control is our direct ecosystem.
Hmm.
What we can control is those individuals that are, directly, to the right and left of us.
Hmm.
So I think like it is very interesting, even from a political standpoint, of like the people that like Omni Fitness attracts.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
because politics get has gotten brought up like several times,
Hmm.
and it's been nothing but respectable conversations.
Hmm.
It's never any type of argument. It's never any type of debate. And if anything, like we have individuals in there that like will literally like educate people who
Hmm.
might not necessarily know what's going on or
Hmm.
be like super up to date. Um, I mean, honestly, like I'm one of those individuals. Like sometimes where when I just kind of sit back and listen to what the people are saying and
Hmm.
just absorb all of that in because I don't necessarily like I pay attention to what's going on because I think it's very much important to like
Hmm.
you have to know, especially like on the local level because
Hmm.
that's where we're directly impacted.
Hmm.
Um, but like I really just try to keep this tunnel vision.
Hmm.
Um, and it just kind of seems like other people within the community just have that same mindset as well.
Hmm.
That we're gonna within Omni Fitness, we're gonna do what we can to have our impact and our change and do what we need to do to support that whatever cause that may be, despite whatever may be going on.
Hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. I love that. That's the type of ecosystem that you've created.
Yeah.
I love that word, by the way. Um, so let's switch it up a little bit and let's talk a little bit about vision. Where do you see? You talked a little bit about um, your vision in terms of Omni just being a central location, but also wanting to grow. Where are you trying to go? Where do you want Omni to be in 5 years?
Yeah. So I see Omni, and I honestly, I told somebody this the square footage I was originally thinking, and they looked at me and they were like, "You need to think bigger." And I was like, "Man,
Hmm.
that actually hit me because like I really very much do see Omni Fitness being this one stop shop,
Hmm.
right? Where it has every single thing that you need, like whether you need the stretch therapy,
Hmm.
whether you need to come talk to a therapist, a co-working space,
Hmm.
like very like a centralized hub for this community,
Hmm.
that of individuals that are willing to pay, but they want all of this stuff to be in one place,
Hmm.
so to for somebody to be able to come work out in the morning, take a shower, have a little, cafe where they can get some food and stuff like that. Co-work with other people, get any of the other, wellness or recovery modalities they need. So that's why it's like I see it as like this big centralized hub in this space, and I would honestly love because Indy has a lot going on, especially
Hmm.
with the health district that's gonna begin growing in the next 3 to 5 downtown. So
Nice.
I would love to be in the heartbeat of that.
Hmm.
What better place to be than right in the heart of the city,
Hmm.
especially for people who may be coming from different locations and stuff like that. But also in addition to that, I want to be able to be my version of what I call omnipresent,
Hmm.
and that's being able to be widely known or commonly encountered,
Mm.
but more from a remote sense,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like being able to still have the same impact of individuals who might not be able to physically come to the gym, from a virtual standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And even for businesses and brands, being able to create, a patented, wellness strategy where I can go to them and specifically not large corporations, but businesses, like mine that are, growing, that are at the
Mm-hmm.
beginner stages, that are, starting to take on and build on teams and stuff like that. I feel like when it comes to human resources and just the overall morale of employees, like their overall well being is just so important.
Mm-hmm.
If their wellness is optimized, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get the best out of them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to just lead for just better growth for the business in general. So definitely being able to create something like that where I don't even it's more like hands off. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, y'all got this. I got bam, 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 bam.
Mm-hmm.
You have this whole network of this,
Mm-hmm.
and then bam, there it is. You got everything you need.
So you spend time, your whole business, not even you spending time, but your whole business is built on prioritizing the wellness of others. How are you prioritizing your own wellness?
Yeah.
Oh,
it,
okay.
and that's funny because like I am very much really good at taking care of myself, but
Good.
I laughed because like I was just talking to a client before I came here and about just taking time off because
Mm,
it's very easy for me to get in this state where I'm just locked in
mm,
and I'm not necessarily taking the time for
mm,
myself that I need to. And we all know burnout, it will be the one to put us down always.
mm,
So I'm one of my biggest things is like, if I'm gonna be grinding the way that I do, I
mm,
need to have sources of joy,
mm,
and I remember being at Invest Fest and hearing one of the speakers say that like for every source of income you have, you need to have like three sources of joy for that one source of
mm.
income. And I
Okay.
was like, huh, I never thought about that.
No.
So, just from like a standpoint of how I take care of myself on a regular basis, like I definitely shout out Ray. I've been having this whoop strap since 2020,
Mm,
like back when I first met him.
mhm,
And that allowed me to get a greater sense of awareness of my actual health,
mm,
from sleep,
mhm,
recovery,
mhm,
stress level, all of that stuff. Which I think is the baseline because then
mm,
once you know where you're lacking, what might be the issue, then you know how to, better handle it from there. So, and then with having all these different partnerships to like the recovery room,
mhm,
massage places,
mhm.
stuff like that, I'm always diving deep in that. And physical fitness is huge for me as well. But
Mm,
most importantly, uh, I would say like my spirituality
mhm,
and the time that I dedicate to God and stuff like that, it's very important. And being able to have like I wake up, people call me crazy sometimes because I
mm,
wake up at some days at 4:15, but it's because like I have to have that time to
mm,
give to myself
mhm,
before I give to others because there
mhm,
was a period of time where I stopped working out early, I stopped getting up early, and I would get up, go straight to the gym, serve people, and then I'll serve myself. I was doing it
mm,
backwards,
mhm,
and I wasn't
mhm,
fulfilled within that.
mm,
But to be able to wake up every single morning, hear the spirit, take it nice and slow, go into the gym, listen to a podcast to, get my mind right as I'm working out, and then my people come, like it makes it so much more smooth and
mhm.
fluent.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like little things like, I'm a simple dude. Like if I'm not, somewhere like networking, adding value, supporting a friend or something like that, I'm usually in the house or we have freaking AMC movie pass. So I love
Nice.
to go see movies specifically in
Mm.
IMAX or Dolby. Like I have to see it in that
Specifically.
specifically.
Okay.
I just got a PlayStation because I got away from the game for a while, but that's like
Mm.
I don't think that playing video games is like a bad thing.
No.
If you have regulation, like if as long as you're doing what you
Balance.
need to do, yeah,
Yes.
balance. Because
Yes.
it's a nice way to disconnect. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, and just kind of escape, go into a reality of your own. So, that's definitely one form of it brings me joy. I
Good.
have fun with it. It allows me to bring out the inner child. But one thing that I really have been missing that we're really prioritizing is travel. I
Mm.
love adventure.
Mhm.
And over these last few years, it's been a grind, so I haven't really been able to have as much as adventure as I want.
Mhm.
Um, but I would really like to, prioritize like travel on a quarterly basis because I feel like if there's one thing that really fulfills me,
Mm.
that really pours into my cup,
Yes.
it's that freaking like travel, getting
Mm.
out to explore, going hiking. You know, I like to go. I like to go to all the different terrains
Yeah.
and experience that within 1 year. Like that. That's
Wow.
kind of like my thing.
Okay. So this means that I can safely assume that you know how to swim.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
But I'm not gonna lie. The first time that I knowingly had an anxiety attack
Mm.
was when I was snorkeling in the ocean.
Mm.
And they weren't helping because they were saying like, "Oh yeah, we just saw 100-foot whale shark last week over in this area," and I'm like,
Oh.
so I'm looking down, I'm seeing all the fish, little Nemo, Dory, all of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and then I see this cliff, it just drops and it just
Mm.
goes dark,
Mm.
just like
Mhm.
imagine like mountains in the water. I'm like,
Yes.
all the thoughts of what if
Mm.
just started hitting me at one time and it got bad.
Mm.
So like I'll get in the water, but
Mm.
like the scuba diving,
Yeah.
all that,
You
I'll
said.
jump out of a plane and do all that type of stuff before I go scuba dive. I don't.
Okay.
And now they
So
talking about there's
So
aliens in
I
the
was just
water,
gonna say,
right?
I was just gonna say. So are you on the way with like
Yeah,
aliens in the water? That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I believe it
yeah. I believe
because
it. I
there's a
mean,
reason why they say we only discover 5% of the ocean.
yes,
You know what I
yes,
mean? So
yes. My one question I always like to ask people is just like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
mhm.
And my answer is always the bottom of the ocean because we haven't explored it, and there's like no light down there. And like if I could really go, I would go. I mean, safely, of course.
That's
Where
bold.
where would you go?
That's really bold. Dang, one place
Mhm.
that I would really want to go. Uh, I would say like definitely I want to not only go to like Egypt and see the pyramids and stuff, I
Mm.
want to go into the pyramids.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if there was like no boundaries and like I could really get
Mm.
into something, I want
Mhm.
to see the architecture, like
Mhm.
what's really going on inside of these
Mm.
things. And um honestly, not even just Egypt, just like these pyramids, these structures in general. Like I
Yeah.
think, oh, actually, I take that back. Mount Everest.
You gonna you can climb it. That
I
is a
tell
place you should
Ben,
go.
I tell her that all the
Yeah,
time.
you gonna climb it?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I mean, I say that, but like it is high risk because people real life die
They
climbing
do. There's
that
not a
mountain.
lot of oxygen. It's real cold.
Yeah,
It's
like
real
it's not as
dangerous.
bad as it used to be. Like I
Mm.
watched this movie, I think it was Everest I watched, and back
Mm.
then it was a lot more prevalent for people to die
Mm.
like climbing it.
Mhm.
Now it's a lot more rare, but it definitely still happens.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I mean, that's the highest peak in the world.
Yeah. Hey, if when you do that, more power to you. Because I'm not gonna do
Right.
that. That's bold.
That is definitely bold. I'll say that's bolder than yeah, for sure.
So I've reached the point where I just like to ask fun questions. Fun slash interesting. So what is something that you're reading or watching that you would recommend to the people?
Oh, How to Fight Right.
Mm.
That's actually a book that me and Evangeline are reading together. So we at times like go through these like these relationship books and we'll
Mm.
both dive into
Mm.
them. And it's been very interesting because it's been able we've been able to understand like the different types of how people essentially handle conflict,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
we've been able to identify that and that they have like it's the Gottmans, who are like therapists,
Mhm.
they're psych something,
Mhm.
they're good at what they do,
Yeah,
long
yeah,
story short.
yeah. Mhm.
um and they even have like a bunch of these case studies and they we get to listen to, not actually listen to them read these about these different arguments and how these different couples are handling these diverse different things. So
Interesting.
um it's been very eye opening.
Mm.
Just even from the perspective of being a better communicator,
Mm-hmm.
within relationships. And I feel like, it's that type of stuff that really works to, break generational curses, because like the people that came before us, they weren't
Mm-hmm.
diving into stuff
Yeah.
like that. So that's
Mm-mm.
that's information we're gonna be able to carry on.
Mm.
And then something that I'm watching right now,
Mm-hmm.
what is something that I'm watching? Something that I'm watching I'm really excited for is like the Dune. Dune just came out with a new
The two.
yeah, they came out with the two, but now they got a series on
Oh,
Max.
very
Yeah,
nice.
that goes back like 10,000 years. And I
Oh,
love that sci-fi
me too.
type of stuff.
It's a good genre.
It's like a combination of Star Wars and Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
I didn't get into Game of Thrones.
You didn't get
I
to
couldn't. My best friend tried several times, but
it's
it's just like I like anime more than I like real people. So
okay. That makes
so
sense.
for me it would be like a mix between like what did you just say? The first thing that you said,
Star Wars.
Star Wars and Castlevania. If you've ever seen that
Okay.
on Netflix,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So maybe something like that in terms of
Yeah.
gore and like
Yeah.
hierarchy.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, because Game of Thrones is very patriarchal, to say
for sure.
the
1,000%.
least.
1,000%.
Yeah, I was like, man, this is how I'm like, boys are still living like this to this day. There's just no dragons.
I'm gonna leave that one alone for right
Yeah.
now. But just know I can hop on my little soapbox for that.
Yep.
Um, so let's pivot to the next cool question. What's a quote or like a mantra that you would want to leave with the people today?
Mm. The highest human act is to inspire.
Mm.
That's another Nipsey Hussle. I love Nipsey
Oh,
Hussle.
yes.
Like when we lost Nipsey, I
It
felt
was
like
yeah.
I lost somebody. Like, what I mean?
Yes. We were
Uh,
crying in the streets.
Literally. Like,
Yes.
I mean, he's a bit like, I'm a music person first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost. So like I feel like that there's a lot of messages that people miss in music from
Mm-hmm.
like individuals like J. Cole,
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick,
Drop an album.
that
Mm-hmm.
really, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my, beautiful,
Yes, beautiful work.
beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the highest human act is to inspire. That's something that's on one of my vision boards that I keep up at the crib.
Mm-hmm.
But it just like everybody has the ability to inspire
Mm-hmm.
in some way, shape, or form. And it can be good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
but like everybody has the ability to inspire. So I think it's like doing our proper due diligence to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that we're doing it to create, lasting and positive change in the world
Mm-hmm.
that, will essentially be able to be carried on. Similar to Nip, like
Mm-hmm.
he ain't here no more, but
Mm-hmm.
his words, his quotes, his music, it still lives on, and it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna live on forever, and it's gonna keep getting bigger.
All right, last one question is first, do you celebrate Thanksgiving?
So, well, what do you mean by celebrate?
Do you eat food?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
yes.
Cause that's all we do.
Yep,
All
yep, yep,
right.
yep.
So I wanted to be mindful of the fact that you're plant based. So I did come up with these things that can be plant based. So which of these, one of them has to go? We've got mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, greens, stuffing, and sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes,
Okay, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, greens, stuffing.
mashed potatoes,
Okay, mac and cheese, greens, stuffing.
greens,
Mac and cheese or stuffing?
stuffing.
Mac and cheese is the winner.
It's got to be mac and cheese, man. I'm telling you, like, I mean, my mom always traditionally made this real, like, cause she's a chef,
Oh,
and
come on,
she
chef.
always makes a very fire
Mm.
mac and cheese. And I literally used to eat mac and cheese, cornbread, and put some hot sauce in there.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
all I need. So it don't, I don't even really try to do dairy like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to mac and cheese, like,
All
hey,
bets are off.
I'm all in. I'm all in on mac and cheese. I will take the L.
Well, that is all that I have for today. Did you have any other things you were gonna plug?
Uh, Nope.
Okay.
That was
Well,
it.
thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you all for joining us and watching. And that's all I got today. So peace out.
Later.